At the $3.06 court hearing, they claimed I was unfit to live alone. The judge's question changed everything. I never imagined my life would be discussed like a damaged asset on a courtroom projector. Not my achievements. Not my years of work. Not the fact that I built everything myself. Just one sentence, delivered calmly by my own family's lawyer. Your Honor, we believe Ms. Carter is mentally and emotionally unfit to live alone or manage her finances. Unfit. That word echoed louder than the gavel. I was sitting at the defendant's table in a navy blue blazer I bought myself, hands folded so tightly my nails pressed crescents into my palms. Across the aisle sat my mother, my older brother Daniel, and my Aunt Lorraine, all wearing concerned expressions they'd practiced in the mirror. If anyone had walked in at that moment, they would have thought they were the victims. They weren't. They were the reason this hearing existed. This was a $3.6 million guardianship case, and they wanted control of every dollar. How it started. 6 months earlier, I was living alone in my downtown Chicago condo, the one I paid for outright after selling my tech consulting firm. No roommates. No debt. No drama. Or at least, that's what I thought. I'd spent 10 years grinding. Late nights. Missed holidays. Being the quiet daughter who never asked for help because help always came with strings. When my company was acquired, my payout after taxes was just over $3.6 million. I didn't post it online. I didn't throw parties. I didn't even tell my family the exact number. That was my first mistake. They smelled money anyway. It started with small comments. You don't need such a big place all by yourself. Are you sure you're okay living alone after everything? You've always been sensitive. Sensitive, their favorite word for me since childhood. It was how they explained away my boundaries. When I stopped answering late-night calls asking for temporary loans, they escalated. The petition. One morning, 2 uniformed officers knocked on my door. Not because I'd committed a crime. Because my family had filed an emergency petition claiming I was a danger to myself. They said I was isolating, that I was paranoid, that I had delusions of persecution. The irony almost made me laugh, except they were serious. I was ordered to undergo a psychological evaluation. I passed. Then another. I passed again. So they changed strategies. If they couldn't prove I was unstable, they manufacture concern. The courtroom. Now here I was, sitting under fluorescent lights while my own mother dabbed fake tears with a tissue. Her lawyer stood confidently. Ms. Carter has no spouse, no children, and no close friends, he said, gesturing vaguely in my direction. She's withdrawn from family. That isolation, combined with sudden wealth, puts her at significant risk. The judge, a silver-haired woman with sharp eyes, listened without interrupting. My brother Daniel nodded along, arms crossed. Daniel, who'd borrowed $80,000 from me over the years and never repaid a dime. My Aunt Lorraine whispered something to him and smiled. They thought they were winning. Their story. According to them, I was too emotional to manage money, too private to live alone, too independent to be trusted. They brought in a family therapist, one I'd never seen before, who testified that estrangement from family is often a red flag. They painted themselves as loving caretakers. They even suggested I move into Daniel's house, temporarily. The same house with a second mortgage and a failing construction business. I finally understood. This wasn't about my safety. It was about access. My turn. When my lawyer stood, she didn't rush. She didn't raise her voice. She simply said, Your Honor, before we address the claims, I'd like to ask the court's permission to play a brief recording. My mother stiffened. Daniel's smile faded. The judge nodded. Proceed. The audio filled the courtroom. The recordings. It was my brother's voice. Clear, confident. Once the court appoints me, you won't have to worry anymore. I'll make sure the money stays in the family. Another clip. My Aunt Lorraine. If she fights it, we'll just say she's unstable again. Judges eat that up when it's a single woman. Another. My mother. She doesn't need to know everything. It's better if we manage it for her. The silence afterward was deafening. My mother's face drained of color. Daniel stood up. That's taken out of context. The judge raised her hand. Sit down. The question. The judge turned to me for the first time since the hearing began. Her voice was calm but piercing. Ms. Carter, she said, how long have you been recording your family? I swallowed. 3 years, Your Honor. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. And why? She asked. I met her eyes. Because every time I succeeded, they told me I was lucky. Every time I said no, they said I was unstable. I learned early that no one believes a woman unless she has proof. The judge leaned back. Then she asked the question that changed everything. Ms. Carter, if I deny this petition today, what do you believe will happen next? I took a breath. They'll try again, or they'll smear me, or they'll wait, because they don't see me as a person, they see me as an account. The shift. For the first time, the judge's expression softened. She looked at my family, then back at me, and finally said something I will never forget. Guardianship is meant to protect the vulnerable, not reward the greedy. Daniel's lawyer objected. The judge ignored him. What they didn't know, what my family didn't know, was that this hearing wasn't my only move. While they were focused on taking control, I was preparing to take everything else away. The judge denied the emergency guardianship request that same afternoon. But she didn't dismiss the case quietly. She did something far more dangerous to my family. She ordered an investigation. The investigation begins. 3 weeks later, my mother called me for the first time since the hearing. Her voice was shaky. Sweetheart, we need to talk. I almost laughed. For years, she'd told me I was cold, difficult, ungrateful. Now she sounded terrified. I didn't answer. Because by then, I already knew what she'd found out. The court had assigned a forensic financial examiner, not just to review my accounts, but to examine any prior financial interactions between me and the petitioners. They weren't looking at my money anymore. They were looking at theirs. What they found. It turned out Daniel's construction business wasn't just failing. It was drowning. Unpaid payroll taxes, falsified invoices, personal expenses charged as business losses. And then came the worst part. A bank account in my name, opened 8 years earlier. I had never seen it, never signed for it, never used it. But someone had. Daniel, with my mother as a co-signer. Over $210,000 had passed through it over the years, money quietly borrowed on my behalf, according to their explanation. The investigator didn't buy it. Forgery is still forgery, even when it's family. The second hearing. This time, I wasn't the one being questioned. I sat in the gallery as Daniel took the stand. He looked smaller than I remembered. His confidence was gone. The prosecutor asked calmly, Mr. Carter, did you believe you were entitled to your sister's assets? Daniel hesitated. She doesn't need all that money, he finally said. I was just trying to protect the family. The judge leaned forward. From what? Silence. My mother began crying again, real tears this time. The collapse. The court ruled swiftly. The guardianship petition was dismissed with prejudice. A restraining order was issued, preventing my family from contacting me. The case was referred to the district attorney. Daniel was charged with identity theft and financial fraud. My Aunt Lorraine, who had helped coordinate the petition, lost her license as a family counselor after the recordings became public record. My mother wasn't charged. Age and health spared her prison, but the judge ordered her to repay every dollar taken. She sold her house, moved into a small apartment, and stopped calling. What hurt the most? People think revenge feels like victory. It doesn't. What it feels like is confirmation. Confirmation that the people who were supposed to love you didn't see you, only what you could provide. I grieved the family I thought I had, but I also felt lighter than I ever had before. The final question. A month after everything ended, the judge asked to see me privately in chambers. She smiled. "Ms. Carter," she said, "you handled this with remarkable composure. What will you do now?" I didn't hesitate. "I'm moving," I said, "and I'm living exactly how I want." She nodded. "That sounds like freedom." My new life. I sold the condo, moved to a quieter city, bought a modest house, still alone, still unguarded, still mine. I started mentoring young women in tech. I taught them something no one taught me. Document everything. Trust your instincts. And never let anyone convince you that independence is instability. The last time I heard from them, a letter arrived 6 months later. From my mother. It was short. "I thought I was protecting you. I see now I was protecting myself." I folded it carefully. Didn't cry. Didn't respond. Some closures don't need replies. The truth. They called me unfit to live alone. But living alone saved me. From manipulation. From guilt. From people who believed my success belonged to them. And the judge's question didn't just change the case. It changed my life. The end.